for Sherry Anshara in celebrating and showcasing Sherry and her new book, Busting Out of the Matrix. You've got your book right there with you,
Here
don't
we
you?
have it. This is it. This is the
Ta-da!
book,
Busting out of the
Busting Out of the
hold it up
Matrix.
close, hold it up close to this. There we go. All right, that's the book that you look for when we're looking when if you want to pick up a copy of this and actually just really enjoy her beautiful book. Sherry, talk about this book and how it came to be.
Well, this book came to be a long time ago, and it is, as I said, a progressive process. So processing, we just keep processing, but progressive is knowledge. It's utilizing that knowledge. And though I've known this information for a long time, eons even, it still is a progressive process through my other books to introduce this idea of duality. And you know what? It's not a concept. There's nothing real about a concept, but duality is full of realities, and they're based on a resonance. Everything is resonance, not frequency and vibration. Frequency and vibration are byproducts. This is really based on resonance. And the resonance of duality in the matrix is based on constriction. It's called boxes. It is called boxing ourselves into the corner, boxing ourselves in, covering everything up. So the resonance of duality is constriction.
Hmm. So that was the question I was going to ask you, but resonance of duality and being constricted, what does that look like? Let's paint the picture for us.
Okay, duality is based on belief systems. So I ask you, Becky, what's the first letter of the word belief
A B,
and the first letter of the word system? S.
S.
And what is BS? And what is BS? Constriction. So belief systems are my God's better than your God, or I'm smarter than you, you're dumb, I know everything there is out about you, I'm going to give you all your answers. Those are belief systems. And they're restricted because they're based upon somebody else's opinion. And everybody, Becky, has opinions, not based on fact, because opinions are based on conjecture. There are no facts. There's perceptions, as the Sherryism goes. Perceptions are the reception and deception of our conception. And how many things have we been taught that I call a lie without judging it? But how many of these lies were based on perceptions of someone else's idea or perceptions that were not based on fact? So a winner is only based upon the perception of the people who thinky they won. And then
Hmm.
guess what happens? Eventually they lose. It's called duality. And that's what the matrix is. It is all belief systems based upon perceptions that absolutely have no facts.
And the perception is, if you've got a person perhaps that maybe had a really rough beginning in life, maybe there was a lot of abuse they had to go through, it seems, unless they can come um, into their own and really understand this, that they relive it over and over again, if not anywhere else, but in depression and in um, just different things that cause them because that's their frame of reference.
Absolutely. And so, through the Anshara method of accelerated healing and abundance, and teaching, I call it the AHA method, AHA, Buddha, I got it, is assisting them to comprehend. Knowing and understanding isn't enough. But when you comprehend something, now that puts you into a space of truth and choice. So you can choose to do something or not choose to do it. And you don't have to wrong yourself for not doing it again. So when someone is, see, depressed is deepest disappointment. And what I've discovered in over the 30 some years I've been doing this, and way before that, that all illness, all disease, all dysfunction, all crazy relationships are based on emotions. Left computer brain, right
Hmm.
side, recreate, recreate, recreate. And so there is absolutely, this is the oxymoron. There is absolutely not 1 ounce, not one particle, molecule, cells of the subatomic level of, of intelligence in emotions. None. I don't know how that was, someone came up with that, good for them, but there is not. Emotions are the basis of all illness, disease, dysfunction, dysfunctional relationships, because the emotionality is caught in the left computer brain whenever that first trauma or the initial trauma, which can happen, Becky, the minute the sperm hits the egg.
Right, right. And it's most often that is what happens.
Yes.
Yes. So is as I begin to realize this, and as somebody begins to see that there's something different, a different way of thinking, a different way of being, as you've talked a lot about in your book, is there a recipe that I can follow once I understand about being manipulated, and I understand about behaviors and the roles that that maybe even I attract personally?
Yes. And once you begin, but it's comprehending it. It's comprehending. And just how to explain. I'm a pilot. I'm not current. But when people are afraid of something, fear is lack of correct information. So learning how to fly and having the experience of it, visual flight rules in the beginning, you can go on instrumentation, whatever. What you are getting is you are getting the facts of flying. So you don't have to be afraid. And so fear is not lack of, when they call it false evidence appearing real, that is the most ridiculous oxymoron. Oxy and moron is the same. That's ridiculous. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Unless I'd like to frame you for a murder. I'd be happy you could do that, right? That's ridiculous. And that's the right and wrong of duality. But when we are in our truth, guess what? We don't have to prove ourselves. And one of the tools that I teach is to validate yourself. And what I teach people is whoever the I is, whoever it is, you, Sally, Joe, whoever, I am the only one who can validate me. And for those outside of me who validate me, I thank them. I appreciate it. And for those that don't, oh well, oh well. But we are constantly taught to validate ourselves, even invalidate ourselves. And I'll give you an example. When I took my test for my FA examiner, he had like 30 some thousand hours or something, and I was really ready. But guess what? I was missing some information. And I'll tell you how it worked out. So I was having the best time with this FA examiner, flying the airplane, and we were out 2 hours instead of like an hour, whatever it was supposed to last. And I'm having a great time, and we were doing all kinds of maneuvers. He was showing me stuff, and this is hilarious. I get back, we land, and I see my flight instructor on the tarmac, and he's white as a sheet. And I thought, oh my God, he got sick. What happened? So the flight instructor gets out, this FA examiner, and he's laughing, and I get out and I'm laughing, and my flight instructor is standing there with his hands on his hips, and he said, "Where have the two of you been?" And I said, and the examiner said, "I fly with her anytime." We were laughing and having a good time. He said, "Did you know you're not supposed to have a good time?" I go, "Now you tell me." He goes, "Do you know how many hours this guy has? Do you know who he is?" He's the examiner. You assigned him to me or whatever. But we had a great time. I didn't know I was supposed to be upset and have an upset stomach. I was just having the best day, the best
You said that.
because
You're
I
like,
didn't have his BS, his belief system. But
mhm,
I said, so your next student, tell him that. But I go, don't, because we miss fabulous opportunities every day because we are affected, affected, and infected by other people's belief systems, even our parents, without wronging them,
right,
because they did the best and worst they could with what they knew and didn't know. But now in this book, it explains why we get sick, how it is infected in our DNA, not necessarily as a disease, but infected as belief systems. And when we have belief systems, we create from a belief system, which is limitation or illness. But when we're creating our life consciously, and that's what we do as a creator God within ourselves, not a God, but the God within ourselves, that resonance of creativity. So in the book, I'm actually showing you, teaching you, inviting you, guiding you to become a real human, because we have not had real humans on this planet because they're always shut down through eons of times by these
It's been
duality
from the beginning of time.
from the beginning of time.
Right. So in your recipe that was in, you have a book, at the end of the book, you'll have a lot of questions and you talk about your recipe and it says create, implement, manifest, and actualize.
Yes. Do you know that what I've done is translate the word, the Hebrew alphabet of the word Yahweh? And what did God do? And that there's four letters of the word Yahweh, right? You know, the
Right.
A, W, and all that. But it really means that you create, and then through your body, you can call it Christ, has nothing to do with Jesus. It's called Christed consciousness, which in Greek means clarity. It also means save yourself from yourself, Messiah. And then you implement, and then you manifest through your male side, you create through your female, and through your heart, through your hands, puff in the palms of your hands, the Hebrew alphabet. You actually then you actualize. So
Wow.
people say, well, I create, and I've taught business people this, I've taught kids this. And you know the interesting part about it, you know who gets it easier?
The kids.
Absolutely, because they're not as ruined, they're not as programmed, and they get what energy is. That energy is a byproduct. I don't care
Well,
what
and
the
their minds are freer and more open to being able to get it.
Yes, and it's overcoming the fears of their parents without judging them. And one of the key elements is discovering in your cellular level, in your memory, how old your parents are when you're born. That is huge, is to find out emotionally how old they are. This is not judging them because they too are stuck and their parents, and you go
Hmm.
all the way back. It doesn't matter when people say, oh, in my other lifetime I was rich. Well, then how come you're poor now? Because that's duality. That is this figure of duality, over and over and over again. Britney Spears, oops, I did it
Oops, I did it again. Right.
again.
So one of the questions in the book is once I recognize um, all of this fact about the being manipulated and these profiles, these behaviors, how can I actually clear these energetic bonds and how do I cut them off once and for all with no more repeat situations in life?
It's wonderful. Number one is Neo, non emotional observer, but it's also following the practicality of my methodology and in the clearness, the clarity of it that's called common sense. That is not common. And when you begin to observe yourself and you see the participation, and when I'm showing you, teaching you, explaining to you about profiles, behaviors in roles, it is so extraordinary within yourself to discover that you are not the limited human that you were taught, that you were programmed through this resonance of duality that's all about constriction and lack. In the fears on this planet, there are three fears: self judgment, self lack, and then you take it away from yourself. And
Hmm.
that's what happens. Because how many people have, I always consider Steve Jobs, all the money, all the talent, and what does he create? Liver cancer, not living. And what did he say at the end? That all the things that he thought were, it's not that money can't be important. Money is a tool, it's just a form of energy.
Right, it is.
That's all it is. It's a form of energy, but it's the belief systems attached to it. So the man or the woman with the most toys or the most money wins. Well, how come that didn't happen? How come that didn't happen to many of the rock stars or the movie stars or politicians or whoever they are?
By
And
all
so,
appearances, they've got it all, but that doesn't mean that that's true.
no, it's true, but it's not the truth.
Right. Right.
And that's the difference of and we give our power away. Oh, well, the Pleiadians did it, or extra. There's nothing extra about extraterrestrials. Get over it. They had better technology. And didn't we have better technology? And I'll give you an example. When our troops in C-47s flew over Borneo and they came out of the sky, and they brought all their stuff and they didn't work. They just fell out of the sky. God, they must be some sort of god, right? And they went back in the mid 50s and what they were doing, worshiping him. Stop worshiping. And there's one letter change to a warship. So who are they worshiping? Ground pounders. So if another group of people came here in a ship, do you think they're going to send out the king or the emperor or the president? No, they send out ground pounders, right? And then people see them and how they're dressed in spaceship suits or whatever the hell it is. And they get down the ground and they start worshiping them. And then they make effigies of them. How many effigies of gods are there? I don't worship anybody. Why? But what I do see is humans becoming real humans without the manipulation in the DNA and without the manipulation in the left computer brain, and how you can become a real human. It's time to become a real human.
And life
Instead
is so
of
much better that way.
exactly. And then you can really make contributions, because when people ask me what's my mission, which one, what's my purpose, which one, many missions, many purposes, and one as a creator god is to create your life consciously, not to recreate the same old crap, the same old crap.
Beautiful.
And they just
Beautiful.
changed the name of the diagnosis.
Hmm. It's interesting play on words. And for those that are listening, Sherry also has a book called The Sherryisms that we just published as well. And it's a book, very small, very short book that is available as a Kindle that you can get for just 99 cents. And it's the book of Sherryisms. It's really interesting how she uses puts the words together and really helps you to understand the concept of what she's teaching. So Sherry, how do I get rid of my DNA so that I'm no longer affected
By
by?
conscious.
Go
And this is
ahead.
interesting. 20 years ago, I was at a conference for physicists. 20 years ago, I was of the outer circle of the earth. And I met this young physicist. And about 3 weeks later, or something, I emailed him and said, I have an idea, not a concept, but a real idea. This is a theory, but I know it's real. That if we become more conscious outside of duality, that guess what? That we don't have to have the DNA. Do you know that he wrote me back on the very day and said a young Russian physicist at this conference proposed the same thing? Getting conscious, we don't require the DNA. Why do we have so much junk DNA? And why do we have to have junk DNA? We don't require it. Becoming a real human is to realize and to remember who you are before of all of this interference in our DNA and our left computer brains.
Hmm. Fascinating.
Mhm.
Very fascinating. Well, this has been very, very fascinating to be able to, and eye opening to read your book and to really have a part of this. And for those that are listening, be sure and pick up a copy. You'll be very happy that you did. But on the other hand, take a time to really contemplate and read carefully. She does work with people on a one-on-one basis. She has is it a course, Sherry, or is it
I'm very
the on, right?
I very and one that's going to be coming up very soon. You can check out my website sherryanshara.com, and it's I teach involved conscious evolution is really what I do. It's involved, but I have all sorts of courses, and I work with people one on one. And sometimes they come in, they fly in to see me, or that are here, in Arizona, and we will do a half or a full VIP day. And I have clients all over the world, and probably 20-25% I've never met in person. And then I start working with them, and Becky, guess what? I'm so fortunate they come and fly to see me.
Isn't that amazing?
And I've worked with
Beautiful.
their families, and I've worked with babies in the womb to delivery, and I've even been in the delivery rooms. It's
How
been
awesome.
quite extraordinary. And how the parents, I teach them how to make conscious connections to their babies in the womb from the beginning. And the babies are very chatty. I even wrote an article on on babies' first connections and how wondrously smart and intelligent and exquisite these children are. And in 2004, I knew that there was a shift. I call them the new kids on the block because they have the God particle. And it's feminine, it has nothing to do with gender, zero, but it's the godness within them, the goddess. And when all this trauma drama happened, that was the second wave. That's why they were trying to prevent them from coming in.
Hmm.
Yep,
Wow. How fascinating.
it is very fascinating. So consciousness, non-duality consciousness is the key to becoming a real human, regardless of your age or stage, regardless of your ethnic background, regardless of your belief systems. Believing in yourself through your heart, your real brain, to create, implement, manifest, and actualize as the God that you are. Not a God, but the God that you are within you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Sherry, for such a interesting conversation, for the a beautiful book that you have written. You have a number of books that you have written. As I see the lineup, it should look, go to Amazon and just put in Sherry Anshara if you don't want to just follow this link, and you will see a number of books that Sherry's put out. And she has her course, and she has the Anshara method. Take advantage and learn as much as you can about this, and be very rewarding. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
All right, we'll end our stream, and thank you for listening, folks.